And we're back with Dr. Jason Day. And we've touched on a lot of things, and there's a lot more to talk about here. If you don't mind going back, we had mentioned about COVID and how it's impacted our kids. And I'm just curious, what are you seeing because of the COVID, that 2-3 years of kids having to deal with things that were abnormal?
Yeah, and we can look at it from all different perspectives and ages and challenges, but the time to start is in utero. And a lot of these pregnancies were stressful. And the neurology of the mother is the neurology of the baby. And there were a lot of moms that had to give birth in a room alone. Husband wasn't even allowed in there.
Yes,
and again, that stress is transcribed onto our child. And if you have a difficult birth, I guarantee you're gonna have a difficult situation with that child in neurology. But we're seeing so many more cases of, full diagnosis of anxiety, autism, ADHD, weakened immune systems. But there's just a lot of sick and drained people. Mm-hmm. And again, I see so many people, if I'm walking at Target or at the pool with the dark circles under the eyes, that's adrenal fatigue. Our children's physiology is screaming at us and telling us that something's wrong. Again, adrenals being revved up all the time makes sense if you're running from that bear.
Right.
Again, these are all symptoms and challenges of fight or flight. But there's so many moms out there that are absolutely exhausted, but still can't turn their brain off at night. That they're trying to eat healthy, but they're still bloated. They try to work out, but they're burned out. And we see all these different challenges because we haven't set the table for health. And we're seeing these challenges across all populations. Sadly, no one is immune to the stress that was 2020. So we can't go back and change anything, even if we wanted to. But how do we change that internal environment? And so much of healthcare is just obsessed with getting the outside right. And I'm all for those things, getting the physical activity right, the chemical activity as far as our nutrition and emotions. But if we don't have the table set, which is a brain and nervous system that isn't still stuck in survival mode, we're not going to get there. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of issues with sleepless nights, stress, anxiety, burnout, digestive issues. There's just what was already bad. We went through some of those statistics. It's just gotten worse, but we're here to help.
Well, and the thing about that, I bet everybody, if they're not suffering from one of those symptoms, certainly knows a lot of people who are. Now, you mentioned pregnancy. What about treating pregnant women? Can you do that?
Absolutely. And again, some people ask, can we? I'm like, yes, we can. And if ever there's a season in life where you definitely need a chiropractor, it's pregnancy. We talk about the 3 different types of stressors: physical, chemical, and emotional. If ever there's a time in your life where you're guaranteed all 3, is pregnancy. But I will say this, we do not treat pregnancy as a pathology as much of healthcare does. You're creating life, you're not losing it. Right. So surround yourself with a birth team that not only supports that premise, but also supports you and your wishes. But physically, we got to pull off some Band-Aids here. You're going to get bigger. You have to. You're creating a human.
Right.
Chemically, the amount of hormonal flux to create another human being inside of you has to ramp up. And emotionally, even the excitement. If everything goes, the excitement is draining. But again, we read, what to expect when you're expecting, what tells you everything that's going to go wrong. We hit deadlines and tests and fears and concerns. There's physical, chemical, and emotional stresses, and guess what happens? The brain and nervous system says, oh, a bear is chasing me.
Bear, it seems to be everywhere.
Bear keeps coming back up. Yeah. So that's what happens. So the brain and nervous system, I don't want to do pregnancy in survival mode.
Right.
You don't want to give birth in survival mode. You want to be in that calm, connected mode. Biomechanically, we talk about backs and stuff. There's only so much room there for baby to grow and for the baby to get out. So if we have misalignments creating tightness and tension with ligaments and muscles, it's going to make for a difficult birth and a longer recovery. Obviously, if we can keep things in alignment, that's going to make for a better birth. And there's studies to back this up. But from a neurological perspective, I know we keep going back to that nerdy perspective, but if you're calm, connected, you're in a healing mode, which means better hormones, better connection, easier latching, better nursing, better sleep for mom and for baby, which is huge in postpartum. Yeah, we want to address all these issues because we're addressing the inside, not just trying to dance on the outside.
And you're addressing them through chiropractic
specific care. Adjustments based on the
And that will make a difference.
Absolutely.
To me, I know for a lot of people, they're probably, that's not possible, but you're seeing it every day.
We see it, we measure it, and the testimonies are there to back it up. And again, this isn't a pat on my back, it's a pat on the back of everybody that has a brain and nervous system that desperately wants to work better. When you remove the stress off that spinal cord, which is truly an extension of the brain, your brain will do the one thing it's supposed to do, which is adapt and heal. Right. Like, it's miraculous what we see when you give the body a chance. Yeah, it's just fun to watch.
Man, I got to call you.
Please do.
I will, absolutely. Now, some tips. We only have a couple of minutes left that you might be able to offer up to the audience, to keep them healthy and fresh and stop that bear.
Yeah, and I always tell my patients and practice members that I'm coming from a place of perspective, not perfection. And just to be honest, and I haven't shared this story with that many people, but late last year, I got to a point where I was looking in the mirror and I wasn't happy with what I saw. And in no way was I depressed or hating my life. My marriage was fine. I wasn't obese, but I just didn't like where I was at. And if I was going to be a leader in this conversation, I needed to lead my own life before I guided others. So I just made some changes. And I mentioned to you off camera that we moved to a farm. And that was just an opportunity and a blessing to just get reconnected to what makes sense, what's natural. And I came to the radical, difficult, but empowering revelation that health is not complicated. We are. Health is not complicated. So I made a few basic tweaks. I didn't work out like crazy. I honestly put on a weighted backpack and started walking our property. I started drinking water from our well instead of Coke and sweet tea from Chick-fil-A. I just ate real food. Those basic changes, on top of all the good things I was doing, less than 3 months later, I'd lost 32 pounds. And I always say health is not complicated. We are. If you get your neurology right, that's everything that we've been talking about in this segment, through adjustments, through supporting that nervous system. If we get our nutrition right, if we put the proper fuel into our body, and if we just go for a walk, you know, and again, there's other aspects to health, but if we can get those basic foundational blocks in place, you can build whatever dream home you want on top of that. That's the process that we encourage everybody to go on. And that's how you can not just refresh, but reset your life for a better future.
Oh, yeah. Can't you hear the audience? They're saying, how do we get a hold of you?
Oh, please do. Yeah. I mean, for local people in this area, we're Trinity Life Center in Holly Springs. Our website is Chiropractor Holly Springs, but I know you guys have a national audience. And the last thing I want you to do is go to a chiropractor that doesn't get this, that only talks about backs. There's a national organization we're associated with called PX Docs, and they're that neurological focused chiropractor that does a ton with pediatrics and pregnancy and the tough neurological cases. So you can go to pxdocs.com or chiropractorhollysprings.com. Reach out to me personally so that at the very least we can encourage you on that journey, the most important journey I know.
Oh, you're very inspiring. Thank you
so
very
much
much for taking time.
Honored.
Good to see you again. And hey, stick around. We'll be right back.